My name is Adi, and it is my purpose to be sharing universal knowledge from Divine Mother, our cosmic Mother Nature, and Source. At this moment, to be supporting the process that we call planetary ascension, but actually, Divine Mother calls it planetary expansion. And not just planetary expansion, it is really us expanding with her. So, for me, all this knowledge has been coming really through this lifetime since I was born as a rainbow child. And it is not some imaginary thinking and wishful thinking. It is that there are many of us here, and I would bet that that's you as well, who came with the family of rainbow light. We are very ancient beings who have been really part of evolution of planetary life for billions of years. And of course, we are older than that, ancient beings of this cosmos and universe. And we've been coming here, and now we are here to fulfill a very specific purpose. Within us, we carry frequency that is the frequency of the rainbow light. So there are many prophecies about the rainbow children and rainbow warriors. But really, what it is that we are beings through which cosmic Mother Nature, as Divine Mother, can flow fully. And it is because of the quality of the heart. So, for me, this was how I was, born into this world. And again, you have your stories, and I don't share mine to show off. I just share mine because that is my purpose. It is my purpose to share, and mainly through actually voice, like a radio voice, to bring this frequency of Divine Mother that some call Sophia into this world, to really anchor her into this planet, and to give her this playroom, the playground to expand. And so that is our mission. And for me, it really has been activated through many different yogic practices and different chanting and Kundalini yoga, Kriya yoga. But a big breakthrough came for me several times in my life. So it's always a quantum leap. So when I was about 13, I was following the chants from the Book of the Dead. And I was able to fully leave the body in a way that it was not like astral travel, but it was kind of like a near death experience. And suddenly I would be hovering above the human body and had really the experience that people have when they have near death experience. And then this beautiful feminine being appeared, and I would call her Mother Mary, non-religiously. And she gave me instructions for this lifetime. And so imagine being 13, getting all these amazing instructions. But the most important instruction that I received from her was that within us is a pathway, which is the pathway of consciousness. And that is the tree of life. This tree of life was known and seen by the mystics. It is a 12-dimensional pathway along which the rainbow serpent of creation, as the mother of creation, travels to expand us to cosmic consciousness. When she kind of arrives, at the summit or the peak of our consciousness, that's when we have all these pictures that we know, especially from Egypt, where beings have like cobra coming out of their forehead. And that is really the fullness of consciousness when we actually finally become whole again. And so she gave me these instructions, sent me back into this life. I came back into the body. But all my life, I just felt this amazing like passion for meditation as a teenager, as a young person, and just meditated and followed, the path. So in 2010, I was living in Encinitas in California, where the yogi that we know as Yogananda used to live and has his hermitage. But I didn't know of Yogananda, never heard of his autobiography of a yogi at all. So it was very special when one day a friend of mine, Aeolia, that you may know as this visionary musician who also organized the 11/11 event with us, he told me, Adi, you have to go visit the hermitage. It's very interesting. And he already was, I would call it, friends with Yogananda, but I really knew nothing about him. So I'm waiting to be led into by the nuns into the hermitage. And they open the door if you've been there, and there's stairs going up. When the door opened, I see Yogananda, and I didn't know what he looked like, but I knew as soon as I saw him, I was crying. I remembered all these things that I, didn't remember before. Suddenly it was like instantaneous activation. And there was Yogananda talking to me. He was standing in a physical body, and yet Yogananda passed in like 1950s. So there he was, and he asked me if I would be willing to actually meet with him every single day in these etheric realms and to receive training from him that would allow me to eventually meet God. Now, I also didn't think much about meeting God. It was more like a religious kind of father figure that I didn't really have any relationship with. But I really loved Yogananda instantaneously. I remember who he was for me, and that we've had a very long history of being these rainbow beings who have been coming to planet Earth to actually maintain the frequency of Divine Mother in creation on this planet. And so there was a lot of remembering that was instantaneous, that was easy. And then I would show up every single day for about 2 years, and Yogananda would teach me about how to reprogram the human part of our being, how to get rid of all any negative, misused life force that we may have, how to contact my soul, how to contact the spirit, how to actually merge with soul and spirit. And then finally in 2015, after, many years of work, I was able to just experience something incredible. And that was being able to actually see source, to communicate with source, to really have this visceral physical experience of source. That was just unbelievable to me, of course. Didn't think that was even possible for a human being to actually be able to communicate with this level of divinity of creation. Now I learned so much about creation. I learned about, how the universe functions, how cosmos functions, why we are here, why we are there, why we actually are, and why things are. But that is not, again, the goal of today's transmission. But I wanted to tell you where all this knowledge comes from. And so my journey continued. I got to know that when we rewire our nervous system and we refine it, we actually refine our ability to see creation and to really have these amazing experiences with these higher level of consciousness. So everything seemed to be tied actually to the nervous system. So I was doing initiations with like Kriya Yoga, which is something that Yogananda did. And he would put his hands on my head and he would run this energy into my nervous system. And I thought, how can anything else happen? I've seen source, I talked to source, I received all that I think that we might ever need. And yet there was more to come. And little did I know that in 2017, I would actually meet Divine Mother herself for the first time in her fullness, like you and me here. That's how Divine Mother was, like me and her. And so she started to teach me these amazing things about creation. But one of the things that I have learned from her, that she has been taken on a form that some people would call the rainbow serpent of creation. And if you are familiar with our, ancient people and Aboriginal people, they all actually talked about the rainbow serpent of creation. And I personally had a past life, many actually of them, in the world of Mu, which to me, is the original kind of blueprint of humankind on this planet. And so I remember being in these different bodies, usually as a man for some reason, being a Tahitian, being Hawaiian, being Australian Aboriginal. Those are the memories that really shaped who I am today and how I understand things. And all of these actually had a very deep understanding of the rainbow serpent of creation. She was not a myth. She was very visible. And I think there's a great value in us being here today as human beings on this planet and having an understanding of the rainbow serpent of creation. For those of us who can see her, we understand that there are flows of rainbow love light through creation on this planet. And because we could see her, we knew how she flows. We knew how she flows through nature. She is actually the soul of nature. She is the soul of the planet, but she also is the soul of the world that we are part of, which is a much larger world, including all the different star systems. She's not the only creator goddess that I know of, but she's definitely bigger than life that we can imagine. So we were able to see her. We were able to see how she emanates from the earth. And we were also able to see how this same kind of flow of magnetic rainbow light flows from what we would call the spirit. And we had a name for the spirit. We called the spirit Tewa. So at that time, we could see nature as something so sacred. And we only had love in our hearts for all that is. Now, this is important, and why we are here today on this planet is especially these rainbow beings. They carry this knowledge that is within them. Even if we don't remember, it doesn't matter. It is within us. It is in our DNA. It is in our energetic field. It is in our rainbow body. Is that we are here to actually change the world by being, but by being the rainbow that we really have always been, and being as unlimited as possible, being in our hearts. So to me, this is kind of like a quick, overview of how this all came into being. And my guides and all the beings that I work with, they always said, Adi, it is your purpose to be transmitting this as voice, so as a frequency. And it is not really the tone of my voice, it is the energy that comes with it. So the next kind of part or segment of this video is just voice. And it is a really story of story of these rainbow children, and you can lie down and just listen and allow these frequencies to work through you. It is not really about listening really to the information as such, but may this information be useful to you and activate within you that beautiful rainbow love that we were created to be. We are in a process that many people refer to as ascension, and I would like to offer a perspective that was given to me by our divine mother, our cosmic mother nature. I find that in this world, we have so many different teams and so many different, let's call it channels or chalices, through which different energies flow. And I'd like to honor this amazing rainbow light that flows through us at Green Tara, because it is our cosmic mother nature that is communicating with us and giving us these beautiful perspectives on things that maybe are not really seen by everyone. So I would say it would be very helpful. My memories I find them also very helpful because they go to the beginning of life on planet Earth. And again, I always want to say there are so many of us here on this planet at this moment who share, really important knowledge and memories. And so everyone is a really important ingredient. I don't see anything as better or worse. It's all equally important. And why is it? So let's say that we bring together these amazing memories, and by putting all these puzzle pieces together, we really activate each other. And so we have so many beautiful beings on this planet who are bringing some amazing puzzle pieces. And I personally really enjoy listening to the puzzle pieces that Matias de Stefano brings and that Patricia Cota Robles brings. And as you can tell, these are very different type of puzzle pieces. But everything seems to be useful when we resonate with it and it activates something within us. And I'd like to bring some puzzle pieces from our cosmic mother nature. My memories when life was created on planet Earth go to what we would call really the beginning of all things. And I cannot claim that to be true, but it's just the perspective that I was given. This beautiful planet used to be a planet that was mainly a planet of the mineral queendom. And so I would call it rocks. And of course, through this alchemical process of interaction with a being, very conscious, vast being that we would call Ma. She is the being of water. She is one of the large creator beings in cosmos. She creates many different worlds. She came here, and she came here as one huge being. I personally have really known her from the inside out. It is the most mind-expanding experience I have. One of those most expansive experiences I've ever had is when I really remembered the vastness of this water being Ma, and her frequency was sounding through this cosmos. You can't even imagine how large she is, and her frequency is Ma. Now, when Ma came, she came as this one large body that was filled with rainbow light, and yet we would call her water. And again, I just hope I find the right words to explain all of this. She came to this planet through the portal of the Himalayas. It is a very sacred, an energetic portal in the energetic field of the earth. And this was billions of years ago. So you can imagine we go really far back. Now we, as the rainbow beings of this water mother, Ma, we're part of her body. She contains, unlimited really amount of beings, because each droplet of water actually is a droplet of consciousness. And so you can imagine when you put like an ocean together filled with so much consciousness, then every molecule of water is actually conscious. Now we, at the beginning of all things, because we were part of her body, we would become individualized. And so we turned through design. All of this is designed through this immensely magnificent consciousness and cosmic intelligence. To me, when people say evolution is kind of random, no. There is this amazing design behind all things, just like there is geometry behind all things. And so we do allow for experimentation, of course, because experimentation is important. And yet the experiment itself is designed, just like in science. So we would become individualized water beings. Now, we didn't have arms and legs, like you would imagine today, a being, but we actually were large kind of fields of plasma. But this plasma was what we would call water. Water actually, I think, is one of the most misunderstood elements on planet Earth, kind of taken for granted these days. That's why the beings on this planet right now don't really worship water. But if we knew what water really is, we would almost call it the divine. And not just almost, it is divine. So this divine being became many, and we were birthed really from her body through this process of individualization. We became streams, we became bodies of water. And again, you would think, oh, he's a river. But when this all was created, that river was not a river. It was considered a stream of consciousness. So again, just speaking about personal, memories of things, I became a stream of consciousness in the Himalayas. And my vibration was called Adi. And actually, it is my name in this lifetime. So it is all by design, these frequencies that we bring with us. It is not that, somebody gives us a name. We do have actually a spiritual name, which is a frequency vibration. And so the mystery is big. At this point in time, if that we can call it time in creation, a lot of other really amazing beings really entered this world. And for example, my inner teacher that I have been working with for many years, that as the being that we call Yogananda, he seemed to be a man. He also was one of the beings who came with this Ma through the portal of Himalayas. And that is, for example, how I am tied to Yogananda. And this is how you are tied to the beings you came here with. And I would assume that if you feel drawn to this information and you resonate and you feel activated by it, and the purpose of my sharing is always to activate our consciousness. It is not that I choose to, it is, again, a mission that is given to us. Specifically, the sharing that comes through us here is designed by Cosmic Mother Nature to activate our memories. And it is her desire for us to actually wake up fully from this cosmic dream and to start participating consciously with her. So again, we could talk for hours and hours, and maybe that would be useful. But right now, let's just tune into these frequencies that are coming through. They do not come through my voice, but they come as energy when we listen to whatever it is that she wants to share. When these beings created these water bodies and water streams, if you could see the water being that we call Ma, that she is Ma, then you would see something that I actually compared to a quantum computer. Inside the body of Ma is really infinite amount of information. She is the storage of cosmic knowledge. And I personally don't know or have not encountered the other elemental creators that we would call the being of fire or the being of air. So I cannot speak for them, but I am sure that it is, working all according to the same principle. These beings contain within their elemental body absolutely unimaginable amount of information about creation through, this is not just billions of years. I don't even know what that would be. So let's call it zillions of years. So from the Big Bang until now, these beings have all the information within them. They also have all the potentialities within them. So the water being actually contains this infinite potential for constant creation, whether it is in this world or other worlds. She goes into other worlds. She always mixes with other elements to create something new. So these 5 elements that we know as water, earth, which is mineral, fire, air, and ether, are really the perpetuators of creation. Creation is designed through this cosmic intelligence to perpetually create more of itself. Never-ending story. This is brilliant. Nothing ever ends. Everything's energy. Nothing ever disappears eternally. Everything is just being recycled and expanded, recycled and expanded. And there is so much information just flowing through when I want to explain all of this and activate us with this information. But for example, this morning, Cosmic Mother Nature said the most important thing we can do today, in this day, and I think that is probably any day, is to activate the rainbow serpent within, her life force within our bodies, within our consciousness. And she always speaks about the tree of life. And so when you really understand the mystical teachings of the tree of life, which I think can be found in the Kabbalah, but of course they can best be found within our own consciousness. I find teachings, they are great, but it is someone else's explanation of divinity. And I think, again, the best explanation, we of course get stimulated by each other's, knowledge and knowing, but we really have access within us to all of this. We just have to uncover it. And I guess that's why she wants us to activate the fullness of herself within us. Going back to the original creation in Mu, and, the beginning of things, let's call it Mu, but really Mu is already, it was a civilization, and maybe it's not a good idea actually to call it even civilization. After this water being entered through the portal of the Himalayas, and that's why the Himalayas is such a sacred portal even today for meditators who understand the energies of this, not just the portal, but the entrance to another world. We obviously had codes contained within water. So each one of us contained different codes of consciousness. You could call it etheric DNA. This is very real. It is the geometry contained within water. And there are so many beings in this universe and other universes who actually are the cosmic geneticists. These beings are highly evolved beings from other dimensions, and they of course can be here and are here also on planet Earth. And it is in their, passion and interest to perpetuate creation through the modification of these codes. These codes contained in water create what we would call today life, what we would call nature. And so nature is this, infinitely coded field of expression. So we have animals here on planet Earth, we have what we call humans, we have other beings that might not be so visible to us that we would call the elementals, and we have all the rocks and plants and trees and so on and so on. So there is a lot. There's this beautiful paradise that we would call the paradise of the mother. So these beings put codes into water, they introduced new codes, and that's why we would say that life originated through water, because there is, I think, no life that could be sustained on this planet without water. And that is, again, this beautiful creation mystery. Water actually is and should be absolutely sacred. Without water, humans will be diminished. And maybe you see how humans actually are diminished because they stop drinking clean, the original sacred waters. And after we have established these codes on planet Earth and they started to interact and morph into beings, so that would be called evolution. So there is some truth to evolution, but actually, it's not as we conventionally believe it to be. So we would give rise to these beings and to different animal species and so on and so on. So this is a very long time ago, again, millions of years ago, if not billions of years ago. And we would eventually have the first beings that we would call kind of, humans or civilization. And those would be the Mu people. Now, I find great value in remembering so many different lifetimes in Mu, because we have a lot of beings here on this planet who maybe are different types of hybrids. We have people who lived in many lifetimes in Atlantis. But there is something very special about Mu. I really feel that Mu is the original blueprint of goodness and love and kindness and goodwill on this planet. Again, many different lifetimes in Mu, in different types of bodies. Originally, the bodies were not physical, and yet they were rainbow kind of spheres that moved around, had consciousness, could telepathically communicate. I would call that advancement. They were more etheric than physical. And these beings had immense understanding of cosmos, not through study, of some star systems, but when they kind of were birthed into being on this planet, they were birthed without any limitations. And their consciousness was totally attuned in the most natural way to cosmic Mother Nature and to Source. Now, I have spoken about this before, but today I was told to actually activate us with this knowledge, to bring it back to life, especially after this lunar eclipse and with the solar eclipse coming up. And this knowledge is really important because to me, this is really the guiding principle of what is happening that we call ascension. To me, this is not so much about ascending. It is pretty much about returning. And it is the return to the goodness, the love, the goodwill, the oneness, the understanding of the original blueprint in Mu. And yet, it will be the new Earth. To me, because I've visited the new Earth many times, and I always interact with the beings who already live there, the humans actually, and the humans who already live on the new Earth, they are definitely what I would call still looking very much the way that we look, but the body is so much lighter in the physicality of the body actually, but it is not the original blueprint of the Mu body, which didn't really have physicality. So definitely there is an evolutionary quantum leap that is upon us. And I really hope that what is given to us as a vision and seeing and knowing and visitations is truly a possibility for us. I don't know, everything about everything, but why would it be given to us if this was not a possibility? So we have so many different beings, talking about where we're going, how is this going to play out? But I would like to say that why would cosmic Mother Nature show us this timeline as a real possibility if it was not possible? So let's feed it maybe with our imagination and with our energy, and let's definitely try to visit if we can, because it's pretty real as far as I can tell. Now, going back to Mu, what was so beautiful about Mu is there was no distortion in the consciousness of the beings who lived on planet Earth. You would call these beings of the earth. They really, evolved from these water beings that were just bodies of water into these rainbow bodies that were individualized. And eventually they became denser and denser, not in their consciousness. They only became denser in their physical expression. Eventually, these people had bodies that you would call today bodies that most resembled what I would call pretty large physical bodies with brown skin, very free, very unlimited, very joyful. And the best I can remember my body to be is to be like Tahitian, the Hawaiian, the original, Polynesian, and also the Australian Aboriginal body. We were considered to be the dreamers who knew that we were dreaming this world into being. That's why the Aboriginals call it the dream time. We loved water above all on this planet, the sun. We loved nature. And again, not because we were primitive. We were not primitive in any way. We were super advanced in our consciousness, understanding, and the ability to love. Our hearts, which is the energetic portal, were completely open to life. Now, this is the most sacred of the sacred states of being, is to have an open, sacred heart. And that obviously was lost after the fall of Mu. When the portal of the Mu people within their hearts was open, there was only two flows of rainbow light that were coming into the portal of the rainbow heart to perpetuate creation. And that was the flow that was coming in kind of from the bottom of the being into the heart, and from the top of the being from into the heart. So you would create this rainbow toroidal field. It was perfect toroid, just like it all is in creation. The tree of life within always creates a toroidal field. When this rainbow light flows into the being is fully sustained. And this is again what was lost after the fall of Mu. The beings were fully sustained through light, love, magnetic nature. This is so incredible when you think about it, because we lost the consciousness or even the ability to imagine that we could possibly be fully sustained through life force. You know, we have people who are breatharians, but that to me is not really at all. It doesn't even come close to how we were sustained by the flow of magnetic love light. So there is a great deal to be said about how life worked in Mu, and I'd like to speak about it a little bit again to activate our own memories within all of us, really. And if not memories, you know, we are part of a very large collective, and even if we didn't live in Mu, it still activates something within us, as all frequencies are actually activating, or they can be uplifting or degrading. So let's say that this is an uplifting frequency that is coming through from cosmic Mother Nature. In Mu, beings were so free to dream anything they wanted to dream, and so they did. It was just this blissful state of actually feeling life force within the body. When they already had physical bodies, this life force was a full body ecstatic energy. It would today be translated as arousal, constant arousal. Imagine today, you know, obviously we misunderstand what that energy is, but in Mu, that was the state of being, constant, this buzzing of life force within. It actually, what we call today Kundalini, was fully activated. And many of these peoples, they called themselves the Serpent people. This had nothing to do with worship of serpents. It actually had everything to do with the knowing who the serpent of creation is. Now, there is great value again in mentioning all of this, because I do believe that all the shamans we have in this world, who are true shamans, really through, you know, the choice of Mother Nature, because she chooses her lineage, she moves through us, and she only is looking for those who can fully allow her to express herself in the body of a human being. When that happens, I would say that person was chosen by cosmic Mother Nature to be, you know, in service to her, and you can call them shamans. It really is, I don't know if it's a good name or not for it, but she chooses her people. And it's not because she would not want to choose everyone. She would like to choose everyone. She would like to flow through everyone as the rainbow serpent of creation. And that is actually her desire. Her desire is not to exclude anyone. Her desire is to really ignite everyone from within. And again, that comes back to today. What is happening on planet Earth is that she is back, and she is the rainbow serpent of creation. So we have a lot of, you know, native people who speak about being the serpent people, and even the native people today, you know, they lost this knowledge. And so that's why we are here as the star beings who have been coming here for a really long time. We became part of many different tribes and civilizations, but we had a mission, and that was to always understand rainbow light. Those who understand rainbow light, who really see it, they see it how it flows through nature. That's why we have, you know, like Feng Shui. You know, Feng Shui today is some kind of science of like moving things around the house because someone tells you that this how it should be. But actually, the original thing about Feng Shui, I imagine, is that the ones who could see how energy flows through ethers, they said, well, since energy flows like this, you know, in different directions, then we need to rearrange the house or, you know, whatever they were building, or the gardens to be like this, so that we maximize the flow of life force. And that also counts for the human body. Things like Qigong, Tai Chi, and yoga. I think the original people must have seen how the energy flows, and that's why they developed these methods. So the seeing really is a big part of it, because without the seeing, we are just repeating some kind of techniques without knowing actually how the energy really flows. But once we can see it, which is what happens to those who awaken this rainbow light within, then it is your nature to actually create postures, to move a certain way, to move things into different places, to look at your, backyard, front yard, whatever it is, and say, this is where we should have a rock, this is where we should have a pond, things like that. So this is a vast knowledge, a vast body of knowledge, I guess. And it really comes back to one thing. Can we please again start seeing this mother moving? Because if we don't see her, how can we actually be one with her? How can we create a world that honors her? The seeing part, or at least the feeling part, is really important. So when we see and feel, or just feel, which is good enough, of course, how she moves through us, how she moves through this world, then we just make adjustments. The simple things, how we sleep, how we sit, how we walk, what we eat, what we think, what we feel. It all can create an opening for this mother to move more fully. And so as humanity, we are her humanity. She is the soul of this world. And I call her the soul of this world, and maybe that's not a good name for her, because she is within the earth as much as she is in our bodies. She is in all of nature. She emanates rainbow light. Though, again, every plant, you can see there are even photos, right, where some technology is able to capture the emanation of photons coming out of leaves and rocks, crystals, and, the earth herself. All of that is, helpful, because we know all life emanates rainbow light. This is light of creation. And that's why rainbow is actually very important to us Mu people. And it is becoming increasingly visible in this world because we are restoring this ancient blueprint of Mu. So the skies now, for the last few years, we have been seeing these rainbow clouds. We have been seeing, strange rainbow spots and portals in the sky. It is all because this energy is rising. This energy is rising because the soul of the earth has moved. And she told us and showed us how she moved in 2020. So she is the one creating this change. What is she doing? She first wants to be restored in our bodies, because she is really not only the physical nature, she's also the non-physical nature, but on the physical plane, she is pretty much what the body is made of physically, of all the different elements of water, and so on and so on. And of course, the code that is within us that we call the genetic code. So all of this ascension is really, to summarize it, about one thing, and that is the rise of the rainbow serpent of creation, the cosmic mother nature, in all things that we know to be part of our world and the world beyond this world. So even the stars and cosmos. It is a very galactic event, actually. It is about aligning us. Aligning. Alignment is the word that she would like to use. So let's say we've been out of alignment for many different reasons. Again, she never, guilt trips anyone. She does not, but she will let us feel her pain if that's the only way for us to align. She does not use pain. People say, suffering is part of our evolution and who knows what, but that is not at all her way. To me, a mother that would put us on purpose through suffering would be a cruel mother, and that is not her at all. And that's something that has been misunderstood, because we have forgotten her true nature. If you think about it, people call it fall. I would call it definitely fall in consciousness, the degradation of human consciousness, but it all has been part of this devolution and now hopefully evolution. So when she wants us to evolve, which is now, she will not use suffering at all. That's not her will. Her will is the will of love and the will of wisdom, because she calls us through her love, and she gives us a picture of a better, way of being, and she invites us through her gentle love and through her magnetism. And so whatever she wants, she always will be calling through love. What would love do next? And she doesn't want love for the self, even though, yes, we need to know who we are and acknowledge that we are really very precious beings of this magnetic light. But in this alignment, when she calls us to be part of her. And that means we all have to become aware of the oneness of life, because within her body, we all are. At the moment on planet Earth, and not just at the moment, but as far as you and me know, just from our history that everyone knows, humanity has been out of oneness and out of love with each other, with the planet, with the animals, with the body, even, with this life force. And again, she just is saying, I am back and I am offering you change. And this change can be so beautiful if only we are willing to let go of the familiar dysfunction and choose new alignment. This new alignment is an alignment with nature. And that is the most important thing. I think this is where you and me come into this role as an important role that we play in this world. Because we have beings who came from different dimensions, and some beings are very young beings, and some of them might be very technological beings, and they do believe that we need to transcend humanity and become more kind of like artificial intelligence and get rid of the human body, and all those things are happening, right? But that is not at all how she envisions things to be. Her vision is for us to actually return to nature and to, as she always says, mimic nature, understand nature, study nature, and never ever exploit nature, to start learning from the elements, to start learning from those even elemental beings, to become friends with them. We have not been very good friends to the elemental queendom. And these beings are very real. For everyone who can see them, these are as real as you and me. They actually have their own bodies. And because these beings are here and they see, the vast majority of humans actually not having a relationship with nature that would be honorable, then it's like, having a younger sibling who is very disruptive. And so she is here and she's calling us to grow up, to wake up, and to take on a whole new level of consciousness that is nature-based. And she's not against development. She's not against, technological evolution. She loves technology herself as long as it serves Mother Nature. And so what it is that we need to do as humankind, number one, I would think, is to get to know the mother. Because without knowing the mother, personally, like one-on-one, right? How can we have a relationship without knowing who she is? As she always says, if we learn to relax a little more, if we let go a little more, if we trust her a little more, and if we surrender to her flow a little more, then she will actually carry us. Just like the river, she will take us where we need to go, and she will move us the way that we need to be moved. And she means physically as well as emotionally. So she is the mother within us. She is the rainbow serpent of creation within us. Some call her a rainbow dragon. She can fly. She, when you see this rainbow serpent, she moves through the air, she moves through water. And so it looks like a dragon that flies. I think that's where it comes from. But she, number one, is within us. So how do we get to know her within our body today? Because that was her desire. Today is the day. She's working with nature, right? So when she gives us the full moon, when she gives us the full moon eclipse, when she gives us solar eclipses, when she gives us alignment of planets and stars, she's actually creating new conditions for us every single moment, every single day. And sometimes these conditions are very, very huge in a way that we can have a quantum leap. And this is the time for a quantum leap. So what it is that we can do to awaken her. For me, I don't have a recipe for it. I can only share my path and how she awakened, but many of us came into this world with her already awake. So for me, she already was awake in me when I was born. And for many years until the world kind of froze her within the body. And that is a shame that it happens to us, especially children who for some reason go through whatever and it has to freeze within us. She is the ultimate joy. She is the ultimate bubbliness. And so when the little kids still have her fully awake in them, that is this life force, the mother alive in them. And so hopefully you remember your own aliveness when you were a small kid. And hopefully there was no one in your life who would kind of beat it out of you. But it happens to a lot of kids. And I think, the whole schooling system beats it out of kids. No one is ever meant to be sitting on their butt all day long listening to some boring teacher. That is not at all how this was meant to be. That is the opposite of how this was meant to be. And so her ways are so different from the ways that we have adopted as a civilization. Her ways are the ways of aliveness. They are the ways of playfulness. They are the ways of creativity, of art, of singing, of dancing, of painting, of cooking, of laughing. It is not at all how we've created this civilization. Honestly, I always say there is nothing much that she would like us to hold on to in the world that we have. And that's why the surrender part is so important. But we cannot surrender to her unless we know her. So just the personal experience, how this went. I do believe that you and me came into this world as these rainbow, I don't want to call it warriors, but rainbow children. And we still are her rainbow children. And that's why she speaks through us. And it is really up to us to make room for her to expand. How do we make that room? I found that, and I always mention that, she enters through two ways. And one is the preferred way. She enters through immense joy, happiness, freedom, playfulness. When we giggle, when we just feel so incredibly blissed out for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. She enters because she is that. She also enters when we are so empty, so down, so, at the bottom of all things, through suffering, like, for example, Eckhart Tolle. When people just completely surrender, but for the wrong reason, really, when they surrender through suffering, she also enters. And so there are the two ways. I'd say, let's choose the way of joy, happiness, bliss, oneness, gratitude, the path that is very easy. That is the path she will move through us, So for me, this happened in nature. And it happened to Sadhguru as well. He writes about it in his book, Inner Engineering. And that is when you are in nature. And also I know of another man that describes it exactly how it happened. And that's Bruno Gröning, a German guy who was an amazing healer, who was able to just have the mother move through him. And that healed thousands and thousands of people instantaneously. Because that is her nature. She's not sick. She's not diseased. She's not the aging body. She is the opposite of all of it. She is the juicy water being of life. And so being in nature cannot be underestimated in this world. That is something that we have taken away from our civilization for most places in the world. Very few places in the world are blessed to be in a real natural paradise where nature actually is the dominant element. And that's what we need to, if there is one thing we need to fight for, and even though she's not a fighter herself, but she will fight if she needs to, is maintaining, nurturing our relationship with nature, making sure there is nature around us, and teaching our kids, or actually just allowing them to be in nature, and they will figure it out that nature is the most sacred of the sacred. And that is really what the new, let's call it, religion could be. Whatever we've had as religions, they, I think, didn't understand even the importance of nature, except for maybe Buddhism. The importance of nature, she is the Holy Spirit. She comes upon us. She comes through water. She comes through nature. And again, praying to some, Father God in the sky, it's kind of ridiculous because she is here and she's all around us and she's super intelligent. You can ask a tree for any advice, and a tree will give you the best advice if you can understand the tree. So we are surrounded by teachers, we are surrounded by the divinity, we are surrounded by the ultimate goddess, and she is just right here. So, and she's also within us. So how do we help her rise? We help her rise when we are in nature. When we help her rise, when we sit on the ground or put our, bare feet on the ground, and when we communicate with her, because she wants our communication. I lived in the mountains of Peru for some time, and I learned from some very advanced beings, I would call them star beings, who, you know, I was able to encounter in the mountains, that we should every day give a gift to the mother. You know, they call her Pachamama. And so they would dig up a tiny little hole in the soil of the earth, and they would put a gift into that soil every single day. And if they needed something from the earth, then they would just give her the gift and just say, this is what I need for my family, this is what I need for myself, this is what I need for my community. And she would always give it to them. And that's something that she told me last year. She said, if only we could give her a little gift. We think it's silly, maybe, but every day, you know, even if you just cut a banana and put it out there for her and say, this is for you, mother. And maybe, you know, you will not see her eating it, but that gesture, as you said it, is really important to her, that we think of her as a being and we want to gift her something, even if it's something little, you know, like the yogis in India, they would put some kind of flower and rose petals on her. This is a very good tradition to give to the mother. So the awakening, this is the key to our consciousness. It actually is within us. So again, we have some quotes about how we are all gods and the kingdom of heaven is within us. And I would say, yes, the kingdom of heaven is within us. It is in our bodies, it is in our hearts. And only when we unlock this ancient mystery, we can fully ignite from within with the rainbow body and allow the goddess to rise. Now, this obviously is not new at all to any of you, because you can see, for example, ancient Egypt, which is the beginning of this fourth world, right? What do you see? You see cobra coming out of their head. Same thing in India, of course. That was the number one thing, awakening. And they had different names for it. You know, they didn't call it Kundalini. I can't remember what the Egyptian name was for it, but they had a name for it. Maybe you remember. That was the number one goal of existence, was to wake up the serpent within. There was nothing more important, because, you know, it's like, when we don't awaken her, we can never actually be fully who we came here to be. It is truly in the activation of the serpent within. And I'd like for you to move away from the concept of Kundalini, because that concept to me is very limiting and it has so much baggage. It is awakening the mother in every cell of our being, in all the channels that run through us, in our hearts and minds. And then finally, we are really whole, fully activated, and then we can start living fully and we become the magicians. So she does move through the channels in our body. She really does. She moves through the spinal cord and the channels within the spinal cord. She moves through our hearts and she moves through our consciousness. She moves through our glands. She moves through the endocrine system. So when she awakens, it is a big event, but we want her to awaken fully, right? She will turn us into a complete tree of life. And this is something that is really important. That's something that she's been talking about to me since I was 13 in, you know, many of her different forms, but it was all about having to activate the tree of life. So today we will invite her to move through us, because, you know, we surrender to that mother. We know she's very loving. We know she's not, I say she tests, but she never tests through suffering. You know what she tests? She tests only two things: our ability to surrender, which is great. We have to be fearless. And that's the second thing, fearlessness. And so maybe it's just one thing that she tests. She only ever tests our ability to surrender to her. And when we are fearless, that is when we surrender to her. And as you know, fearlessness is a state that we call Christ consciousness. So it's all ties together with the mysteries of the mysteries. And of course, it has to make sense. And the picture has to be complete. This is a complete picture, I believe. It is only in our surrender that we are fearless. That is only when we are fearless that we can surrender. And that is the state of the Christ. So that is the state of the fully activated rainbow body. That's when we become whole again and the kingdom of heaven is within us. And those are the children that can enter. I think that's what Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven. It is children, but it is not really children. You know, it is the ones who became so fearless and playful and childlike that they could surrender to this mother without the nonsense of whatever we have learned in this civilization. So fearlessness is definitely a big step, especially in this world that actually, you know, is kind of toxic with fear. And again, I speak about this kind of often when I had my encounter with Christ, and I realized that Christ consciousness is the absolute absence of any type of fear. And so it's good to be, you know, practicing fearlessness and surrender and trust and all those things. When the mother entered me fully, and this, you know, I don't want to say it about like me, but I want to say this is just one story that I can share. I was able to experience it as a child, and I was able to experience it as a small, you know, school kid, and what it meant. I, you know, have very physical memories of what it felt like. I could hear her, and I knew the oneness of all life because of her. She was sounding that sound that we call Om as the sound of unifying creation. And so later in life, you know, first this energy got kind of frozen. Then I started to meditate and chant. And I used the Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, that helped me to actually completely leave my body and kind of create the experience of near-death experience. And that's when I met what I would call, again, a version of the mother. And that's when she told me about this tree of life. And so it was through meditation, chanting, and Kriya Yoga, and working with Yogananda. So a lot, you know, has gone into this to be able to actually fully experience her. But I was only able to do this fully around the year 2015, and then on and on and on, always deeper layers of surrender and courage. I think that's what it takes as well. And so I can tell you that when we empty the self and are willing to completely be extinguished, which is a mystical kind of term, then she will enter. It is a physical force. So if you imagine that you are surrounded by water, but you are like a balloon, and the balloon is preventing you from experiencing the fullness of the ocean that you are in, it is only when the balloon bursts that you can suddenly experience the ocean around you. And I think that's how this works. We just need to burst the bubble of the illusion, and then she can enter, and then she enters. There's nothing that we do then, it just enters. So it's like an automated system. When the heart opens fully, she enters. So that's what I would call the Kundalini awakening, is when the heart fully opens. When I started to have these very mystical experiences that the mystics describe, you know, there's many different things that have names like, I don't know, samadhi and rapture and who knows what. I don't want to give it a name. I just want to say there is a way for the mother to enter fully. So it doesn't always happen. Even if you meditate for a really long time, it doesn't sometimes happen at all. And I find it frustrating. I would like to have the perfect recipe, but it definitely is a dedicated path. But one day, and this was in August 2020, I had a series of these incredibly mystical experiences every single day. It happened during the Lion's Gate. And to me, this was the most magical week of my life, really. We were at Mount Shasta doing meditations, and, you know, I was following Matthias De Stefano every day. He was doing the, I think it was called the Days Out of Time. It was very intense energy. And maybe it was because of Matthias and listening to him. I really cannot tell you why, but she entered in the middle of the night. And then she stayed with me in my body for a very long time. And I was able to do recordings while she was in me and let her speak through my body. And this is something that I was going to play today. It is called the Kundalini activation. And it may sound really simple, but she is the one speaking. It actually is not me speaking. Yeah, and that's exactly how it all started. It was the mother just speaking, speaking, speaking. This is when Hathor started to come, and all these beings from other layers of creation that are connected to us, of course, otherwise they wouldn't communicate with us. We have to be part of their family, or part of them, really, for them to move through us like that. And so one day I was sitting in my meditation chair, and I really wanted to meditate my usual way, like silent meditation, or listening to Orin, or listening to something. And she said, no, I have something new for you. And so I'm sitting in the meditation chair, and she starts like rocking me side to side. And if you know how the Kundalini energy works, it is kind of like it rocks you side to side, and this energy moves through the spine. And so she said, grab your phone and start recording what I'm telling you, because this will be a process. And so I recorded her. And I always say I'm not a singer, but she started to sing through my voice. And so whatever the frequency is, that is the most authentic, genuine transmission that I know of Divine Mother, where she really is in a human body, and she talks and she guides. And it's only 9 minutes, so we'll listen to it, because that's what she gave me this morning to do. Her intention today on this planet, today specifically after this, full moon lunar eclipse, is to awaken in all of us equally, in every single body that we are. She wants to awaken. She no longer wants to be the serpent of darkness. For a very long time, the mother was considered to be the serpent of darkness, as you know, especially through our religions. She is the one who gave the apple to Adam and Eve. And she told me the reason for that, and I mentioned that in one of the videos recently. She said, when you realize that you are an apple, and this is like a very mystical thing, and she explained this to me. I was always so excited every time she gave me an explanation. I would be in my meditation room, and she would talk to me, and then I would run outside and quickly tell my husband everything she said. I would go back, and she would give me more, and she was giving me these diagrams of creation and ancient knowledge. It was like nonstop, day and night, during the Lionsgate. So she's like, I'm the one who gave Adam and Eve, the apple, to remind them that they are the fruit of life. They are the apple of life. They are the toroidal field. They are not humans with skin, how they were made to be, after the fall. They actually were supposed to be these beautiful rainbow beings of light. And when you cut an apple open, you get the 5-pointed star. And that was the design of the 5 elements. So again, there's a lot that goes into this, but I will now play. I don't want to keep you too long, but this was all important today, because she said today is the day to awaken the true rainbow serpent within. And this is the recording, 100% authentic, just her. I got out of her way and she took over. And if you could see how she took over, it was really hilarious, because I was like, no, I need to do Orin. I need to listen to this, visualization. She's like, no, this is not how I move. I actually, she said, want to move through the body. I want to sing. I want to make sound. I want to, tone. So tone with her, sing with her, make sounds, and then rock side to side. If you are sitting, or, like I do it when I'm sitting, and then she rocks side to side, but also she wants us to create kind of the infinity symbol within the body. So that's something that a lot of beings who work with us, from other, cosmic locations, they do that as their practice. They move the pelvic floor as if they were drawing the figure 8. So it's a horizontal 8 that you make with your pelvis. And you can be sitting and do that. You can do it with your hands as well. You can move them in this infinity symbol in front of you and within you. Take a deep breath in and move your body side to side, gently creating the figure 8 with your movement in your energy field. Breathe deeply, deep in, almost making a sound, and deep out, again, audible breath that you feel moving through your body as energy, life, and horizontally in your energy field, the symbol of infinity, the symbol of eternal life, the symbol of the sacred serpent, mother, creator in all of life. And gently move side to side, drawing the figure 8. And just move and breathe, and if you wish, make sounds. Use your voice to tone. Allow your spine to be straight as you rock. Body as if you were drawing the symbol of infinity, and you can use your arms and you can use your tailbone to create movement in your upper body as you sit and move, and use your arms and tone and breathe, connecting with the energy of the rainbow serpent within your body, allowing her to rise in you, allowing her to come in from the earth and fill you up, to ignite the volcano at the base of your spine with her fire and love, and to rise into your heart, the place of alchemy. Your heart is the cauldron of alchemical potion, where your volcanic lava explosion of fire meets your water, and your crown becomes a fountain of rainbow diamond water. You are a being of fire and water. You are the perfect marriage between the elements of fire and water. Fire is in you, in your spine, and water sprays out of you as a fountain. You are the marriage of all that is. You are a rainbow being of light. You are unstoppable, infinite, with the mother swaying side to side in you with her tone. And allow this expansion to move through you. Allow your heart, your entire energy field to open up. Your spine become a channel for this ecstatic energy through which the mother moves. She is that, she is life. Allow her to just move through you and dance with you and move in you. And move up and down, creating the tree of life within you and all around you. She is the apple of life within you. You are her fruit. You are a tree. You are her child. You are her child. You are her fruit. You too are the tree of life. You are my child. You are my fruit. You are a perfect tree of life. And inhale deeply through the roots of your own being, mother's love. Run the energy through your trunk and explode into your crown. Allow your being expand into all directions. Just expand your roots, expand your crown, become a thick trunk. Widespread roots, widespread crown, and just keep expanding with her love. It's okay to be big. It's okay to be seen. It's okay to be powerful. It's okay to be strong. It's okay to stand up and be seen. It's okay. Keep growing, honey. Infinite space is available to you. Her world is infinite. May you keep growing, expanding with her ecstasy.